Welcome to 5 at 5 with Stone Law Offices. I'm attorney Brendan Bidey with 5 minutes on your trust and how it's enforced. One common question that we get from clients and prospective clients about trust is, okay, I set up a trust. Who makes sure it gets carried out in the way that we've set it out in the trust agreement? How is it enforced? Well, when we're dealing with a trust, we're dealing with a private arrangement. When you sign your trust, we're not taking it after that and filing it with the court or registering it with the state or registering it necessarily with the IRS. With a revocable living trust, the income tax situation is, doesn't require us to get a new tax ID number because the property for tax purposes is considered the same as if it was owned by you personally. And so there's really no change there. So again, what we're dealing with is a private arrangement. And so how does this private arrangement get enforced? Well, ultimately, it comes down to who has a right in this and who has responsibilities in this. We have trustees and they have fiduciary duties. That means they have duties to carry out your instructions. They have a duty to you, both when you're alive and upon your death, to carry out the instructions that you leave in the trust instrument, to administer that property according to those duties, as well as the duties that are set forth in the law in general, to carry it out in a competent manner, to manage the investments of the trust and to do everything for the benefit of the beneficiaries in loyalty to you and fidelity to the instructions and requirements that you've left behind for them to follow. So again, what happens if somebody does something wrong? This would generally mean a trustee. If a trustee is acting improperly with respect to the trust, then how is the trust going to be enforced in that case? Well, that again comes back to who has an interest in this that they can enforce. If a trustee is acting outside of their fiduciary duties, outside of their duty of loyalty to you and to the beneficiaries, and they're not fulfilling the responsibilities properly in the trust, or they're breaching some duty or some right that a beneficiary has, then that beneficiary then can enforce their rights and can hold that trustee to account. Generally, this means either just raising the issue with them, but ultimately it means that they have the right to take them to court if they think that something is improper has been done, and have that reviewed and have that trustee in some cases removed by a court if they have been acting improperly, or for the trustee to have it confirmed that what they've been doing is proper and okay. And in some cases, it means that there's a little bit more accountability for that trustee. But that's essentially what it comes down to: is trustees are accountable. They're accountable to those who have those rights, the beneficiaries, and the beneficiaries are the ones who, if those rights are not being upheld and maintained, that they have, if they want to see those enforced, then it's up to them to have them enforced by court process if necessary. Now, another thing that can be done in some cases is you can have another person that's appointed with respect to a trust to enforce that trust. And those are generally referred to as trust protectors. They may have any number of different powers or responsibilities under the trust. In general, they sit by until they're kind of activated by somebody who needs a dispute settled or them to act in some particular way. But in many cases, a trust protector may be given authority under the trust to review accountings of the trustee to make sure that they are fulfilling their duties, and to be able to remove and replace a trustee if they are acting improperly or for whatever other reason that may be convenient to the parties, that they can do that without having to go through a court process to accomplish the same thing. And in other cases, they may also be given the power to construe the terms of the trust and settle disputes, where perhaps the trustee and the beneficiary, maybe they just have a different idea about what the trustee's responsibility is or what the beneficiary's right is under the trust. And instead of having to go through a court process to settle that dispute, a trust protector may be able to step into that role and review that language and essentially be the deciding factor and say, this is what the trust says. Perhaps they split the baby, go down the middle on this and say, well, you win in part and you win in part, and here's the compromise. But that's, again, another way in which a trust can be enforced, where your intentions can be protected, preserved, and ensured that they are carried out. And so, again, if you have a question about how your trust is going to be enforced, what rights a beneficiary may have under that, and if you maybe are intrigued about the prospect of having a trust protector involved, somebody who you can designate or can be designated later to review and ensure that those disputes between trustee and beneficiary can be resolved, perhaps without any court involvement, let us know. We'd be happy to take a review of your trust and see if there's something that we can do to make your trust work better and carry out your intentions more predictably and in the fashion that you expect. Give us a call at Stone offices. We're happy to help.